Hey guys, what's up? It's Tony here, and we're back with a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking about Cwl Fortworth. So, Fortworth was kind of a weird event. It wasn't really one of those events that I feel like the best teams came out on top. I do feel like LG won the event fair and square though, and that they are um the probably one of the best teams at that event. But aside from that, I feel like some of these other teams just didn't show up, and that's something that needs to be talked about. So let me just pull up the standings here. So LG obviously with first. Actually, I'm gonna start with the bottom because I think that would be better. So Evil Geniuses, 16th. Kind of expected that. Midnight, we for sure expected that. At 15th. 14th, we have United. That was one where I didn't really expect that. Obviously, you saw Clayster's videos more than likely, and it's just weird to see that team do so bad because they have a lot of talent. And I feel like they should have been at least top 8. Like, some of these other teams that are above them, you just wouldn't really expect. Accelerate. I didn't know how well this team was gonna do, but I think that getting 13th out of 16 is, obviously it's not good, but they had some bright spots and they had some decent games, and that's something to look forward to if you are an Accelerate fan or just fans of these players in general. Brack, superstar. I think that he needs to be, more well respected in the community, and I think that he played very well when he was with Midnight, and I think that this team honestly kind of brought him down a little bit, just because he's probably not comfortable playing with these players, to be honest with you. Um, Another team in the 13 through 16 range I want to talk about is Midnight. So Llama God played awful compared to when he had his old teammates. I don't know if that's just him not being comfortable or what, but I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen if he was the one to stay with that roster. Um, just because of the fact that, I mean, you're going from a 5-2 team. You still got that 5-2 record, but you don't have 5-2 players. Like Parasite was phenomenal. Um, Saints was average. Lacefield was subpar. And Blast subpar as well. So I feel like Llama's not a good enough player to the point where he can, you know, just take over at times. And I mean, the fact that he was when he was with Midnight was something big. I think that was a huge step in his career. And I kind of want to see him step it up at this next event because I feel like he underperformed and he knows he underperformed. So we'll have to see what he does at this next event. But getting on with things, so 12th, Optic Gaming. Holy. This was very unexpected. I did not think Optic would get anything less than T3, T4. Um, I think the practice without Dashi, I think that had something to do with it. Um, I think that Karma or Scump and TJ probably had some of the worst events they've ever had in terms of slaying wise. You know, it's just I think they're not as comfortable. And I think that a roster change isn't needed at all. I think that you have 5 of the best players in the game. Um, arguably the best player in the game in Dashi. So you shouldn't really change anything. I think just going forward, just get better, kind of scrape that event off, and look forward to London in your Pro League matches. UIU, they added Parzelian. I mean, this team is a team where you didn't really expect them to do great, but you expected them to do decent. I think that's what they did. They placed 11th, which is respectable by their standards. You have players on this team like Methods, Mayhem, Parzelian. Those were I think it was 1, 2, and 7 KD for the league in respawn. So I mean, you got to perform better than that though. So I think that they're looking to improve on that placement. I think they can only get better once they get more comfortable with Parzelian. But moving on, Denial 10th. This is this is unexpected. I mean, this team won what, 2 games in the Pro League maybe, or 2 series in the Pro League. That is just, how do they go from? They should have got 16th realistically, but through adversity and through everything, they ended up getting 10th, which 6 places better. So happy for those guys. I think they performed well. I think they're only going to get better with practice. Uh, but that's kind of all I have to say about them. They were kind of a surprise team in all this. The next team I have in at ninth is Team Envy, who aches apathy, assault, silly. This team, I expected to get T6. I think that Hook and Silly are absolutely disgusting. Aches had a pretty damn good event. Um, you just got to get more from Apathy and Assault, and I didn't get to watch much of their matches, but just from what I saw in the Pro League, it seems like Apathy and Assault just weren't getting it done. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a roster change for those two. Obviously, you need Aches as your shot caller, but I could even see a roster change there. But moving on, uh, eighth we have Team Heretics, Lucky, Journey, Method, Sucre, Metals. Obviously, no roster change here. I think that they're the best players from their region. Um, and no other players would really be able to understand the callouts. So I think that this team, them coming in at eighth, sort of surprised me. I mean, you did have a pre-land for what, like a week, with Splice, 100 Thieves, and Optic. I mean, you should have got some good practice. There's really no excuses to be placed in top 8. Obviously, it's better than Optic at 12th, but I mean, I want to see more of those guys. I think that they're a lot better than that, and I think that they'll come out and kind of show that next event. Gen.g, Major Maniac, Nagafin, Havoc, Mox, and the recently picked up Envoy. I think that this roster doesn't need a roster change. I think that Nagafin played insane from when I was watching, and I think that the pickup of Envoy kind of gave them some much needed slaying. But just with them getting 7th, I don't think they're happy with that. And I think that they need to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out what they're going to do, because, I mean, their S&D, obviously, it's pretty damn good. They lost a couple maps this weekend, though, in S&D, and that's something that they probably don't like to see too much when that's a kind of rely on game mode. They always think they're going to win that game mode. And I think another issue with them is just their in-game leader. Can Mox do it all? I don't know. But in terms of those other players, those aren't in-game leaders, and Mox seems like the one that would take their role. And maybe it was just miscommunication on their part the whole weekend, but gotta see them do a little better. So 6th place we have Red Reserve announcing that Bance is a free agent. Pretty sure they're switching orgs. Not sure who they're gonna pick up. I think Alex would be the best pickup for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they picked up Shock, so he is their substitute. So, and rated I think is going to a Maddox, so that should be interesting. But I think that they placed right where they needed to. Rec was on fire that day, and I think that you can't really do anything about that. But this video is kind of logged, so I'm trying to get through these last couple fast. There's one I want to touch on majorly. Enigma 6, surprise team. They came out, they played. They are more of an event team. I think their Pro League matches, they underperformed entirely. Kismet is an absolute animal. I think the pickup of Chino and moving General to that Maddox, I think that really helped them out. And I think their pacing was a lot better this event than it was previous. Diabolic was, I'm pretty sure he had a standout event this event. I'm not too sure, but just from what I've seen on Twitter, I didn't get to watch much of those matches either. 4th, we have 100 Thieves. Now, this is the roster I wanted to touch on. Kenny, phenomenal. Slasher, phenomenal. Octane, phenomenal. Priesta, absolute animal, maybe best player at this event. Enable underperformed a bit, but when you have 4 guys like that slaying, you're not going to be able to slay like them. It wasn't, I think they would have honestly won this tournament if Priesta hadn't gotten sick. They would have had to bring in Pharaoh. That's also no blame on Pharaoh. It was a really shitty situation for them. And I think that they really could have won that entire thing if they had Priesta. Um, but that's kind of all I got to say about them. No roster change needed on that. Reciprocity, Tommy Weskin, Zed, Shawnee Dillon. Zed probably had one of the craziest S&D games I've seen. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was against Splice, but he played insane. So I think that they're happy with their performance. The pickup of Dylan was insanely good for them, and I think that they're looking to improve on that placing on the next few events. Splice, Temp, Jurid, Accuracy, Aqua, Looney. At second, this is a roster that I expected to go to grand finals. I think that Temp is disgusting. Got a good IGL and Looney. Aqua played amazing. Jurid does this thing as always. Accuracy had a few games where he underperformed, and I feel like that kind of hindered them. But I don't think they need a roster change. I think he just needs to go home, play the game a little bit more. Not saying he's bad or anything, but I think that he kind of knows some of those games he had really slow starts, picked it up towards the end, but you gotta have him consistent throughout that whole game. So under our winner, first place, Luminosity. Slacked, Formal, John, Gunless, Classic. It is insane that I'm even saying those those 5 names on a roster. Um, just Formal, John, Gunless, and Classic. And then you add in Slacked, who's been very underrated this year. I feel like he doesn't have the best year, but he did have a great event, and that's something that needs to be touched on. Um, Formal, John, and Gunless. Like, if those guys are going off, the other team is not going to win the map. And they performed all weekend long. Obviously, Classic with that Rampart. Um, the Rampart kind of bailed him out, but I think that they still would have been T4 regardless of the Rampart. But he did make some plays this weekend, so you got to kind of give a shout out to him and just congratulate these guys for getting first in a tournament that nobody. I mean, some people kind of thought they would, but just with how they played in the Pro League, and then they had a lot of doubt surrounding them, and I think that they did well with handling that. So yeah, I think Slack specialist. I think that definitely helped. I think he used his specialist in a lot better situations than he had previously. So that'll kind of wrap it up for the video. But the one thing I want to talk about is the amateur bracket. So FaZe Clan Black obviously winning this. Asim, Phantoms, Gravity, Simpcelium. If these guys aren't picked up by one of these pro teams, I would be mind blown. At least Simp and Celium. Asim played incredible. I don't know why he's been talked down on. Phantoms, obviously he's always been nasty. Gravity, same thing. This is a team that I think can, if you put them up in this pro bracket, they're probably getting T6. Like, they, they were impressive throughout the whole weekend, that's for sure. Also, notable mentions from people from the open bracket. Mind Freak, obviously. Cyclone, Nation of Power, In Control, Aspire, Happy Robbie B Fastball, Johnny Turnip. That's a team you expected to do good. You didn't know how good. They ended up getting 5th, but I think that they played pretty well, and I think they're looking to improve on it. Anyway, guys, sort of a long video. Want to get this out there for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's been your boy, Turney. Peace.